worth 1,000 words, and these words are all in Japanese. Hello and welcome. Today we're finally doing our secret option to the last pull that had won. Now, the reason this video has taken so long is because I had gotten sick, and it's taken a while to get back. But we're back! Today's topic is this picture from the Zelda series. Now, I had found this while my friend Dylan and I were looking through the old Zelda art. And we saw it, and our first thought was, oh my gosh, that looks like Link's design in Tears of the Kingdom. So let's get into it. We originally found it on the History of Hyrule website, labeled under the Link to the Past art section. Links to everything in the description below. And when you click on the image, it'll give you a link to a novel that will only show the images from the actual novel on the History of Hyrule website. Now looking into this, that wasn't enough for me. So I reverse image searched the piece of art, eventually finding people talking about the book on Reddit, where someone had left a link to the Internet Archive version of the entire book in Japanese. Now we have a bit of a problem here, as I don't really know Japanese that well, so how the heck am I going to read this? I had found it, but that wasn't enough for me again. So I looked up to see if there was any way to translate an image, and I had found a website that translates images into text. So I had taken this now text of Japanese, and I hopped onto our most trusted translating website, if you may, Google Translate. And I translated it into English. I then made a document labeled My Hell and proceeded to go page by page, translating a couple of the pages before and after the image so we can get a general idea of what we are looking at. And lo and behold, this is not A Link to the Past, but in fact is Zelda 1, a Hyrule Fantasy. Which I kind of got the idea that it wasn't A Link to the Past because in the second page of the book, it very clearly says a Hyrule Fantasy, and that's Zelda 1. I find it really interesting that Zelda 1, 2, and 3 tend to get mixed up with each other's art quite often, but that's because, again, it's the first 3 Zelda games, and yeah, also Zelda 3 is A Link to the Past. Anyways, the page it's on, plus a little bit before and plus a little bit after it's on, says, eventually, one kingdom was destroyed, another was subdued, and the 3 countries became one, and the peace that the people had longed for has finally come to Hyrule. Many eternal years had passed, peace still continued, but at some point, the people began to be exposed to new threats. They are demons called the Things of the Night, he explained. Link stood there, staring at him, and next door, when he pointed at it, Link suddenly screamed, "That's what kills demons?" It spread its wings and revealed a huge mural. It was the image of a boy tightening his bowstring and about to shoot an arrow. The face is, yes, it was exactly the same as Link's. "That's me," Link mumbled, still stunned. The monk stared at the boy's profile and smiled. "You are the true descendant of the family of the Avenger. And you are the reincarnation of that hero. You must rescue Princess Zelda from captivity and take back the Triforce of Power from the hands of Ganon. To do that, you must use the Triforce of Wisdom. Without the Triforce, you cannot defeat the Demon King." "But I can't play such a big role." Link remembered the time he fought the terrifying octopus monster in Octorok. At that time, he almost got killed in the street. However, there are even more terrifying monsters under Ganon's control. What is Link alone supposed to do when dealing with such people? I'm sure you can do it. It's not a perfect translation, but it's better than nothing. Now what does this mean? Why is it so interesting that this book is based off of Zelda 1, and that the art of Link before looks a lot like our Hero of the Wild? Well, it's the fact that Breath of the Wild was based off of Zelda 1. We can see it in the fact that you can go anywhere as soon as you get control of Link, as well as the hero's tunic. It was made to be the successor of the original game, which is really interesting to note because in Breath of the Wild's sequel game, Tears of the Kingdom, we have Link wearing a completely different style of clothing from the rest of the game series. We know lore-wise it's based off the Zonai's clothes, but where did the designers get that? It could be based off the inspiration of the Zonai's outfits and designs and such, but the fact that the game before is heavily based around being a successor to Zelda 1, the fact that there is a design just sitting there that already looks like this new design is just very interesting to me. Now, what if this was before Zelda 1 and 2? Because that's the fun part of this video. Well, it wouldn't physically work, the lore doesn't add up, and those two imprisoning wars are very different. How so? Tears of the Kingdom's imprisoning war has the 7 sages needed to seal Ganondorf away, and it is said that this is the same Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. But Hyrule was already established in Ocarina of Time, and these are the first king and queen. It just doesn't really work. This is why we should do the hat theory next. It'll be one of the videos that you can vote on for next time. Which is also why I believe this is kind of the new Hyrule at the end of the adult timeline, where they had to re-establish things. That's a completely different video for a completely different day, so we're just going to continue on with the imprisoning war. But let's ignore that part of the lore and just look at the wars themselves. The war in Tears of the Kingdom had the main players being the King, Rauru, and Queen Sonia, then the sages plus Princess Zelda, who had time traveled from the future. And they are against Ganondorf, who is after the Secret Stones and to become more powerful. If you've seen any of my Zelda lore videos before, then you would know that we hang around the Downfall timeline quite often, and that is because it's my favorite area to talk about. And we have to talk about this era of the imprisoning war once more. But this imprisoning war in the Downfall timeline's main players are the 7 sages, the Knights of Hyrule clan, people trying to get into the Sacred Realm unknowing that it has already become the Dark World, to obtain the Triforce that is just sitting there waiting to be taken. And the monsters that reside inside the Dark World trying to escape to do some horrible nasty things to the land of Hyrule. No Link, no Zelda, and no Ganon. They are completely different wars, and it shows that Link, Zelda, and Ganon don't need to be in the middle of every conflict in the entire series' lore, which is something that I absolutely love. Where was I going with this? Long story short, as cruel as it could be to have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom happen before Zelda 1, it's just not really possible. But also, it's really cool to see reimaginings of the events of the first 3 Zelda games, because that's essentially what they did. And it's really cool to see how they could have pulled from different medias that they had already made throughout the years that's not well known outside of Japan. Like the designs in the book for Link's past self. He's got the long hair, he has the clothes, and is even depicted as an archer, just like the hero of the wild. Of course, there are differences as their ideas changed the design, as well as the fact that this piece of art is over 30 years old. But it's really interesting to see how they could have taken from something like this, and it makes me wonder what else they could have taken from that we do not know about yet. Guess we're gonna have to start digging! Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Honestly, I'm a big advocate that the Zelda timeline does actually make sense if you look at the lore, but these last 3 recent games have me really thinking that they are a part of their own timeline, or just alternate events, because they just don't really fit anywhere, including Echoes of Wisdom if you know the lore of where it's being placed. Anyways, the vote for our next video is the Hat Theory and the Fates of the Master Swords. The poll will be up for you all to vote on the community tab on my channel, so please go vote there. And today's secret, because of course I have a secret at the end of every video, is the rest of the art from the book. Of course we have the cover art and a couple of more colored pieces, and of course the rest of the art in the book, of course. Honestly, I kind of want to do an audiobook style of this with my funky translation method, and then I'll go over and I'll fix up as best I can of the translation to make it make sense in English, because again, this book is only in Japanese and there isn't an English version, and I'd like to read this book. I would like to read the entire book. That little snippet, I have a few more pages afterwards because I wanted to read more of it. It's like kind of over 200 pages long, so I'll have a time. It'll probably come out later on. If you guys are interested, please tell me. I'll honestly do it if one person is interested. But still, thank you all for watching. I hopefully will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!